Intelligence reaching Stratfor from various parts of Asia points to signs of increasing Chinese assertiveness. Welcome to Agenda with George Friedman, who joins me now. George, what is it that we're hearing?
We're seeing a lot of activity on China's frontiers, if you will. Any one of these things is of no importance, but taken together, they're rather odd. There was, for example, a report of Chinese troops in Pakistan. It was then said that these troops were there merely to help with flood relief, and there weren't nearly as many as the report said. We see activity in Nepal in which pro-Chinese elements appear to be getting the upper hand. And of course, as Nepal, became a Chinese satellite, they would pose a serious threat to India, which they don't currently pose because the Himalayas are impassable. There's tension with Vietnam. There's been a small tussle with the Japanese over fishing boats. And the U.S. Navy is claiming that there is increased capability and aggressiveness with missiles in particular in the South China Sea. No one of these things would mean a great deal, and perhaps all of these things taken together are merely coincidental, but we're seeing a pattern on the Chinese periphery that indicates a somewhat more aggressive stance. And the question is whether or not this is something temporary, something unconnected, or potentially the beginning of a new Chinese foreign policy.
Could all this be a sign of members of the military asserting themselves as we prepare for the big leadership changes in China in 2012?
It's obviously possible that it is the military acting by itself, but the Chinese government tends to keep pretty close control over its foreign policy. When I look at all of the activities that are taking place, I wonder whether some of the economic stresses that we're seeing in China, to which China has thus far responded primarily with security measures, whether or not we're not seeing the attempt by the Chinese to play the patriotism card in the sense of becoming more assertive overseas and thereby using this as a unifying principle in anticipation of the various political issues involved in the succession.
And is this assertiveness directed particularly at any one country, the United States, Japan, or Southeast Asia, or all of the above?
For the moment, of all the countries in the world that China deals with, well, that overstates it, all the countries we've been talking about, the United States is the one the Chinese are least verbally hostile to. They've been talking about good relations. But of course, the United States has eased up on a core issue for the Chinese, raising the value of the yuan. But what is interesting about what we're seeing is that it's not confined to any one nation. It's not, about India. It's not about Japan. It involves all of them, not in a critical way in the sense of leading to war or conflict or anything like that, but simply a greater assertiveness and pressure, sometimes involving political factors, sometimes military forces, but all around.
I'm told that some governments in Southeast Asia are becoming decidedly twitchy about Chinese aggression.
Well, I don't think it's fair to call it Chinese aggression. I think I would call it Chinese assertiveness. They certainly haven't crossed any borders inappropriately yet. But remember that Vietnam has a bad history with China. They fought a rather nasty little war back after the fall of Saigon with each other. They are not good friends, and it's interesting to note that the U.S. Navy paid a port call in Vietnam, which the Chinese didn't like one bit, and which the Vietnamese were using to indicate that they had options other than China, and the United States was using to indicate that they were open to relations with Vietnam. So yeah, Southeast Asia is one of the pressure points. And also economically, the Chinese central bank, for example, at various meetings has been, we've been told, fairly aggressive and arrogant even in relationship to some of the Southeast Asian countries. So there's certainly an area of problems.
You say that the United States has been going easy on China. How long will it continue to have its foot off the pedal, so to speak?
Well, the Chinese have gone easy on the United States. The United States has eased back a little in response to that, except for the Defense Department, which has been issuing some substantial warnings through various statements by senior Navy officers about the growing capability and aggressiveness of the Chinese Navy. So certainly I don't think there's any love affair going on with China. I think the Chinese would like to dial down the tension with the United States while dialing it up a bit with other countries. But the United States, I think, is extremely concerned when you talk to naval officers about what the Chinese are doing.
George, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much. And that's Agenda with George Friedman. Until the next time, goodbye.